Hello everybody and welcome back. I am the Pompkin King, and in today's episode we're going to be continuing our playthrough of Pure Imagination, Pure Coney Island. In the previous episode we introduced the first of several roller coasters and on this historic theme park site, and today we're going to be building in a little bit more of the infrastructure. Starting off, we need a place to house all of our mechanics and workers, and as I promised in the last episode, we're going to go ahead and make staff buildings in one of the attractions from Dreamland. Now, just a little bit of history about Coney Island. Coney Island was originally set up as three separate parks: Steeplechase Park, Luna Park, and Dreamland Park. Of the three, Luna Park is the only one that is left today. But Dreamland Park was the biggest and the most expensive, and that is what we are going to be recreating here. Now, the building that we're going to be putting our staff center in is the Fighting the Flames building. This is a particularly ironic building because Dreamland Park burned down in 1911. But this was actually a spectacle building. This is where people used to come and pay to watch them burn a house and then put it out. They would put on shows multiple times a day. They would set a deliberate fire, and then the Coney Island Dreamland Fire Department would come and put it out. By that I mean that they, would put it on as a show. But this was a big crowd draw. There were a lot of people that wanted to watch the Fighting the Flames. And Dreamland actually had a lot going for it in the way of attractions. One of the most infamous was ultimately what was their undoing, which was the Hellgate attraction, which guests got to ride a dark ride through the 9 layers of hell. It caught fire in the early morning of May 24th, 1911, and burned the entire park to the ground. So, yeah, where were the Coney Island Fire Department on that one, huh? Well, the real kick of it is the people who had come to visit the Coney Island Park actually came and watched the park burn to the ground for free, just for kicks. Here I'm building a Japanese tea stand, and this is also where they have the airships. Originally this would have been connected to a little miniature ride that had, quote, airships, unquote, in which the people would get swung around on like a big swing. And we actually have an attraction that is similar to this, and we'll see it later on in the park. The build itself, the Japanese tea house, is almost as tall as the Fighting the Flames attraction, but it is much smaller, and it was originally connected to a bathhouse where people could go and change into their bathing costumes and go swimming in the harbor. I'm not sure why anyone would want to swim in the Brooklyn Harbor, but you could do it if you wanted to. To entice people inside here, I've gone ahead and put a couple of bathrooms inside. Next, we're working on another major attraction from Dreamland. This is the Midget City. We're going to call it Miniature City at this point, but remember in 1904 when they first opened Dreamland, physical spectacles were still very much in vogue. People would have paid to come and see a whole bunch of paid little folk who would be, performing regular day-to-day tasks. It was all themed to look like a castle, so it gave me a chance to kind of play around with different architectural styles. And let me tell you, it has been really difficult to try and find actual images of Dreamland Park. There's only a few photographs, and usually only from a couple of different angles, so trying to get proper reference for what these buildings looks like is not easy. So if you appreciate the amount of attention to detail that I have, you can, of course, go ahead and hit like. This building is pretty much a facade. There's not anything inside it. I'm going to put shops and stuff inside here, but honestly, it's really just something to look nice along the side of the Dreamland Lagoon, which we are building right now. Now, the Dreamland Lagoon is home to the Shoot the Chutes ride, and we are going to have that on here as well. It was one of the first water slides in the world. Guests could go up in sort of a gondola boat, and then they ride down a flume and into the lagoon at the bottom. Dreamland Park itself was, as I said, built in 1904, and it cost over $3.5 million in their money, which today would be probably 10 or 20 times that much, so about $60 million. It had over 1 million electric lights, and it was definitely something to see. It was a big crowd draw and spectacle on Coney Island. And it only lasted for 7 years. Burned down in 1911, and the owners never bothered to rebuild it. Which is why we're bringing it to you now here in Pure Imagination. Here I'm building in some of the other buildings from around the Dreamland Lagoon. I'll figure out a use for some of these later. And here we have the Dreamland Lagoon. You can see we've got our Fighting the Flames, the Japanese tea house, and I'm trying as best as I can to try and replicate the exact look of the Dreamland Lagoon for this section of the park. We are, of course, going to have the Shoot the Chutes ride in, and I'll be doing that probably in the next episode. But this gives you an idea as to where we're going with the Dreamland Park. Now for me, I was originally introduced to Coney Island through a movie that my parents introduced me to called The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. If you haven't seen it, it's an absolutely fantastic movie from 1953. And it actually tells the story of a dinosaur awakened by nuclear blasts that was thawed out of ice in the Arctic and came to New York, which was its old stomping grounds, and ran amok. And if this sounds familiar to you, it's because it inspired the 1954 Gojira movie, which ultimately led to being the first Godzilla movie. But The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms happened first, and aside from King Kong, it is pretty much the original kaiju. So having a chance to build it was pretty fun, and it wouldn't be Coney Island to me without it. I'm not going to give spoilers because it is a really excellent movie and you should check it out, but Coney Island does play a large part in the climax of the movie. So here I am taking some time and I am building the actual dinosaur. The Rhodosaurus is what it's called. It looks like a lizard because it's from 1953, and I don't know why they thought dinosaurs were lizards, but they did this a lot in movies at the time. But it was animated in stop motion by the legend Ray Harryhausen. It's one of his best pieces of work. This and the original Clash of the Titans, I think, are just the best. And it's a really fantastic movie, and I am actually really happy with how this turned out, though, because even though it's, you know, got like a weird balloon animal shape, I actually think that it does have a lot of the character of the dinosaur from the movie. So those of you who are watching this channel and are familiar with my Jurassic World Evolution content, here's a dinosaur for you. It's made out of simple shapes, but yeah, it's a dinosaur. Now, I included this little cop down here, not only for scale for the Rhodosaurus, so that I know that I have it the right size and length, but also in reference to a specific scene from the movie, which always cracks me up whenever I watch it. To set the stage, the Rhodosaurus has been traveling south and has just landed in Manhattan and is now running amok in the city never sleeps. I love this guy. Yes, take my single-shot pistol. Oh no, it's jammed. Oh, I seem to have been eaten. Oh my goodness. I love that scene. I don't know why. Like, this whole movie is just an absolute treat. And like I said, definitely check it out. Some of Harryhausen's best work. So now let's take a look at the Rhodosaurus the way it was meant to be seen, in grayscale, from the roller coaster, which ultimately was its undoing. And that, friends, is where we are going to wrap it up for today. The monster is defeated, and we shall carry on with Dreamland in the next episode. But until next time, I am the Pompkin King, and I will see you later.